If you want Colts talk all year long, you're in the right place.
Taylor hit, but he bounces into the end zone. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y!
How can we, like you mentioned, as pillars, as guys who are leaders on this team, how can we turn that around?
Play action. Now he's in trouble, and he's going to be brought down. A sack for the Colts. DeForest Buckner back to the 27-yard line.
Never quit. I never not fault. I never not compete. And I will always continue to be a great leader, a great competitor.
Now he checks it down left side, looking for the end zone for Alec Pierce, and he's got it. Touchdown, Alec Pierce.
This is the official Colts podcast, giving you an updated look at what's new with the Horseshoes. In the Indiana Union Construction Industry radio studio, let's get the podcast started.
Yes, let's do it. Hello, welcome in. This is the official Colts podcast. We're brought to you by WinBet on another Tuesday here on the Colts Audio Network. Welcome back. The weather is here. The month of May. JJ Stankevitz, Larra Overton. I'm Matt Taylor. Memorial Day weekend coming up in the city of Indianapolis. It's always the unofficial kickoff to the summer around these parts. Larry and JJ, fire up. JJ, what's going on, man? How are you?
Took my kids to the track on Saturday for
that is
beautiful.
A bold move.
Well, we just sat in the infield. There are some like mounds by turn 2.
Yeah.
So they watched the cars for about 30 minutes, and they rolled down the hills for 30 minutes, and then they wanted to leave. But they have not stopped talking about the race cars that they got to see. They're 2 3-year-olds getting to see race cars for the first time. It blew their minds. I think they're going to be going back pretty frequently.
It's awesome.
I don't know when the acceptable age is to take your kids to the race for the first time, but like I want it to be like 15. Like,
I was 10, I think.
Okay.
I was 10.
It's probably about 10, 11,
9 or
12.
10.
Yeah.
And I just remember my parents, they didn't make it a full day thing. Like we rolled up, I think they curbed it off. We rolled up like 30 minutes before the green flag.
Yeah.
I don't know how my dad finagled it, but
Good Lord.
we didn't we didn't try to push the envelope, I remember. And then I think as soon as that bad boy was over, we were out of there. We were hoofing it, trying to beat traffic.
When was your first Kentucky Derby?
First Kentucky Derby that I attended, I was working, so I was probably 22.
Okay, so you didn't go as like a kid or anything.
No, it's very much not. I mean, tickets to attend, if you're sitting in the seats and not doing the infield, are pretty hefty. So it's an expensive day to take a kid because it's obviously much more limited seating and stands area than the 500, and then the infield is very much not child appropriate.
Not kid
friendly.
No,
definitely not. Yeah. So
you got a virgin mint julep out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I was 22.
They call that water.
Yeah, I was 22 with my first Kentucky Derby, and then my first Indy 500 I was probably 27.
Have you ever been to the Indy
26 or
500
7.
just as a fan?
Twice.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only made it to the end once. I left early the other time. I mean, not for any like.
Yes,
reason.
we know. We know. We get it.
I was just like, this is it. I'm ready to go home.
I know.
Like,
I know
was
it's not your cup of tea.
So
I know that.
No, and then I've worked, I don't know, like 7, 8 of them. No, I just didn't know what I was in for. I like went with friends and.
Did you sit or were you inside?
No, we were in the infield,
Yeah.
and so like you can't see anything. And I'm like, wait, I'm wanting to watch the activity, and we weren't seeing it, and I got a little bamboozled. I feel like by the whole thing. So I was like,
sold you a
peace
bag
out.
of goods.
Yeah, I was like, peace out. I can do this at home.
I just don't know how people in the infield get out of there. I mean, do they get out of
you
there
leave
like
early.
on Wednesday?
You leave early. That's how you get out
of
there.
If you stay for the end of the race in the infield, what time are you getting home?
The only time I've done the infield, we stayed for like 2 to 3 hours after the race, and then still sat in traffic.
Oh, of
getting
course.
out of there. I mean, it was brutal.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will say that is the only ton of civic pride about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the 500 and all that it represents. The only thing, and it's inevitable, you can't help the traffic. You have 325,000 people leaving a concentrated area. You're going to sit in traffic. I just feel like every year there's another set of hurdles that didn't exist the year before in terms of traffic and construction and interstate shutdowns and all of that just make it really difficult.
I've got this down pretty well after last year where some friends of mine come in from St. Louis every year for the race, and I'll hop in their car after. They will drop me off at the airport, and then I'll get an Uber from the airport to my house. So I don't have to drive there. I don't have to drive back, and I can actually call one because there's no way I'm calling an Uber in the chaos of 300,000 people leaving the track.
Because you always have the airport Ubers.
Right.
I like that.
You're always going to get an Uber at the airport. So just, hey, drop me at the airport. I'll call one from there, and then
Wow.
I'll go home.
That's savvy.
That's quite a strategy.
That
you
is
have.
savvy.
Works
right
out great.
there. That's thinking
It was kind
right
of a nice
there.
little hack I had.
Absolutely.
Figured out last
Life
year.
Hacks by
Yeah.
J.J. Stankevitz.
Yeah.
He's writing a book in the off
See-
season.
If you're going to the race,
That's
see you
a
at the
summer
airport on
content.
Sunday.
Delta Flight 789 to Carmel. I like it. We are loaded up, as always, per usual, here on the podcast today. We are going to talk some football. OTAs started today, Tuesday, as we sit here and talk right now. So busy time here for the next couple of weeks for the Colts, laying down a strong foundation heading into training camp later in the summer. We're also going to take a look at the early quarterback battle, if you want to call it that, between Anthony Richardson, the rookie, 4th overall pick, and then, of course, the veteran Gardner Minshew, and discuss how the Colts are going to handle that and those reps coming up in the spring. And also dive in Dayo Odeyinbgo. He spoke last week. We'll examine what kind of year he's in store for in 2023 and the overall health of the Colts pass rush going into next season. A bunch of sacks last year, but were they impactful? Did they come at the right times? We'll talk about that as we progress. But OTAs have started, so the next 4 weeks of the offseason workout program are going to be busy. It starts this week with OTAs, concludes with the mandatory minicamp coming up in mid-June, and this is where really things really kind of start to ramp up, as you guys know. 7-on-7 this week. We're going to see 9-on-7, 11-on-11 drills. No live contact, but you're going to see players wearing protective knee and elbow pads. Guys are going to be running around in helmets. So, Larra, I'll start with you. What are your biggest off-season goals for the Colts from here on out? So this is when it gets juicy. OTAs, minicamp. Where do the Colts need to be in goal-wise by the end of minicamp to kind of catapult themselves going into training camp?
I think it's full comprehension of the offensive and defensive schematics. Obviously, Shane Steichen is bringing in a new offense along with Jim Bob Cooter and incorporating all of that. So making sure that guys are up to speed and where they need to be in terms of the progress in that system. And then from the defensive standpoint, making sure that you're able to start this season and start training camp maybe faster than what you did, where you're not, still in that initial install phase with Gus Bradley. It's more so, okay, this is taking command. We know exactly what we're doing, and we're able to put ourselves in positions to be successful when the time comes. And you don't really have this kind of period of trying to still grasp and incorporate that when you're also getting into, training camp and those preseason games. You're able to kind of have, I would hope, a mastery of it at this point from the defensive side.
I think the defensive stuff is really interesting because I remember something Gus Bradley told us last year, that when he was in Tampa, it was his first job in the NFL, and he was a linebackers coach with the Buccaneers, and Derek Brooks, Hall of Fame linebacker, was in that room toward the tail end of his career, and they were going over some basic install, like the most basic of things. Mm-hmm. And he said Derek Brooks was taking like copious notes during that, and he asked him, "You've been in this defense for a decade and a half. Why are you still taking notes?" And he said, "Because there's always something you can learn." And I think about that a lot, is now a lot of these guys on this defense are going through the second time they're installing it. What else can you learn from it? What's something now that you're going through it the second time you didn't pick up the first time that can help you out when you get to the regular season
and play even faster?
Exactly. And when you play faster, what does that lead to, Mate? More takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that kind of held this defense back last year, was they didn't take the ball away a whole lot. So I think when you start to layer that knowledge, that is a huge benefit at this time of the year.
To me, I've got two things on both sides of the ball, or I guess one thing on each side of the ball. So on offense, I agree with what you said, Larra, but let's get a starting 5 offensive line, right? We know Bernhard Raimann's going to get the first shot or the first crack at left tackle. What about right guard, though? Is it still Will Fries? I mean, we're going to find out. Open practice is coming up on Thursday with the media. Is Will Fries still the right guard, running initially with the first-team offense? Is it Danny Pinter? Does he get another crack at it after what happened last year? Or Emil Ekiyor, right, that highly coveted undrafted free agent from Alabama, some Indianapolis ties, went to Cathedral High School. And then on defense, get a really good look at how the Colts are going to line up in the secondary at corner. Who's running out there initially at corner? We know it won't be Juju Brents dealing with that wrist injury in the offseason. Isaiah Rodgers, I don't know, JJ probably gets the first crack with the starters at cornerback, but how much time for Dallas Flowers, right? How much time for Jalen Jones or Darius Rush? Those are the big corners the Colts have prioritized and drafted in the offseason to play in this Gus Bradley defense. How do the Colts initially break up those reps in the spring at corner?
Yeah, and the thing with this part of the calendar is it's going to be geared toward offense. When you don't have pads on, it's going to be a little bit easier for the offense to make some plays in these 7-on-7, especially in 7-on-7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just kind of want to see what the foundation is for these competitions. Quarterback obviously is the big one, but like you mentioned, right guard, slot receiver between Josh Downs and Isaiah McKenzie Jr. There's going to be pretty good competition, I think, at defensive end. If you're looking at Kwity Paye probably starting on one side, what does it look like with Dayo Odeyinbgo and Samson Ebukam?
Mm-hmm.
Cornerback obviously is big. Safety, how does Nick Cross slide into some of these things? There's a lot of competition that's left to be settled on this team in a way that I think is really going to benefit the Colts when they get up to Grand Park and training camp.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I put this in the notes for the podcast. Give me a player, JJ.
Yes.
Is there a player that is in store for like the biggest jump starting right now? Like if they're going to have a really big 2023 compared to what we've seen from them in the past, it's going to start right now in OTAs. The reason why they have a really big season upcoming in 23 is because of the work they put in the offseason and in OTAs. Who's that guy for you on this Colts team?
Yeah, there's no question for me that it's Alec Pierce. I talked with Alec at the end of the season on locker cleanout day just about what he wanted to work on in the couple of months away. And he said a lot of it is going to be really honing in on some of his route running techniques. Last year, Alec primarily was an outside-the-numbers ball winner. That's what he was in college. You could throw it up to him if you got single coverage. He was probably going to come down with it in a lot of situations. The intermediate, over-the-middle type stuff, I think, is where he is going to make the biggest jump. We saw some of it last year. But he was only targeted 9 times on intermediate routes over the middle last year. That's between 10 and 20 yards between the numbers. He caught 6 of those for 90 yards. He had a couple of pretty nice grabs in those situations. I think he can start to develop on those as you get through this. Whether it's just taking the knowledge and applying it to some of the coaching that Reggie Wayne is going to be giving him.
Mm-hmm.
But the big reason for Alec, why I'm just in general, I'm so bullish on him, not necessarily on what he may or may not do in OTAs, but this offense last year was not really geared to maximize Alec Pierce's skill set. Because you couldn't push the ball downfield.
Not at all.
Because you had protection issues. Matt Ryan did not have the strongest arm. So Alec Pierce last year, he was targeted 15 times on passes that traveled 20 or more yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That led the Colts. That was tied for 40th in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, and he caught 7 of those for 243 yards. His receiving grade from Pro Football Focus on those was 93.2. That was 15th out of 74 qualified receivers. So he's good on those.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Pierce is good.
Just needs more opportunities.
Right. And he only had 8 targets on play action. That was tied for 101st in the NFL among wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like, if you just get 10 more targets on play action deep shots, I think Alec Pierce adds like 150 to 200 yards to his receiving total just right off the bat.
I agree.
Just like that.
I agree.
And
same thing with Jelani Woods, too.
Right. Yeah, Jelani was going to be the other guy
to
bring up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think Alec, if he can continue to hone that route running aspect of things and then continue to just be that outside the numbers force within this offense, he should have more opportunities because the offensive line should be better with Tony Sperano Jr. hopefully getting more out of that group.
That's my unit right there. I just said the entire unit. That for me, that's the entire unit that I think is in store for a big bounce back.
Well,
but
just to cap it off,
yeah.
If it's Gardner Minshew starting, he's shown a willingness to push the ball downfield. We saw that with Philly last year. And then if it's Anthony Richardson, he's got a freaking howitzer for an arm. So, I mean, you're going to have more of those opportunities, I think, just baked into this offense than you were going to have last year, and I think that maximizes the kind of production that Alec can have in year 2.
You said Jelani Woods, Larra?
Yeah, Jelani was certainly going to be mine for a lot of the same reasons as Alec. You saw him have those type of explosive plays, just didn't have them with the consistency that you would hope, and a lot of that was due to the fact there was so much rotation at quarterback and not being able to give him the opportunities, of course, that you would have liked to have had for him. And I think that you'll see a lot more of that, especially with it's so difficult when you're coming off of a draft and you're going into a rookie season because your off season leading into is so shortened. You don't get the spring, right? So I think that's why you see second year guys emerge, especially within the offense. We talk about, of course, the big learning curve that there obviously is at the wide receiver position. I think you can lump in tight end with that as well. So now that these guys have had from March on, working with Gardner Minshew and Sam Ehlinger, and then Anthony Richardson comes in the fold. But you've had this entire time with Shane Steichen and Coach Cooter and everything, so you've been able to better integrate yourself into where you hope to be and the impact you hope to have within the offense.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of difference the quarterback makes in both of those regards with Alec Pierce and Jelani Woods. As we said, OTA starting this week, and that battle is, I guess, starting to heat up because of that between Richardson and Minshew. And this is going back to, I think, last Thursday. Minshew spoke with the media and said that he and Richardson worked out together in Florida earlier in the offseason, and Minshew had that great quote, kind of connect the dots. Hey, it'd be great to go back and play with Shane Steichen. Colts need a quarterback. I'm working out with this guy who's projected to go in the top 5. We might be teammates, and voila, right? We've heard Jim Irsay speak. We've heard Shane Steichen speak in the offseason. The Colts have made it clear that the team believes that a rookie quarterback learns best by simply playing, and Richardson obviously needs the maximum amount of reps after starting just one season at Florida, right? Only 13 games in college. Minshew agrees as well, and he has personal experience playing right away, right? Remember in 2019 as a rookie, Nick Foles goes down with that collarbone injury. Minshew steps in, started 12 games his rookie season, 21 touchdowns, 91.2 rating. This is Minshew last week talking about the only way to get better playing quarterback in the NFL is by playing quarterback. So here are his thoughts last week talking about this subject.
The thing about quarterback, I think one of the only ways to get better is to play it. So getting that experience is huge. Going out there, seeing looks, feeling the speed. That's something you really can't replicate in any other way. So it's huge. Just getting any type of experience, any type of game snaps is really, really important.
All right, so Minshew, he knows where he's at. He knows the Colts drafting Anthony Richardson, and he also knows that he is in here as of right now, JJ, on only a 1-year contract. What did you make of Minshew saying that, yeah, he believes, too, that the best way for rookies to get better is by taking game snaps? What did you make of the veteran agreeing with that, rookies need to play?
That's why you signed Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
You sign him because he's not only a good quarterback, but he's a good dude. He's a guy you want in that room. I had a chance to catch up with Cam Turner about him last week, the Colts quarterbacks coach, and just the confidence that Cam said. He said, once you get to know Gardner Minshew, you're going to have confidence in him. And I said, why is that? And he was just sort of like, just the presence that he has, the knowledge that he has, guys really, you want to be around him. And comments like that, he gets it. He gets that he is here on a 1-year contract, and the Colts drafted a quarterback with the 4th overall pick. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that he is just going to give up and say, well, yeah, Anthony, you take it? No, he's still going to compete. He said it's kind of like being on an airplane where you drop the oxygen mask, and you got to take care of yourself first before you help the guy next to you. I really like that perspective, but he gets it, and he's not I contrast this to the other experience I've had with a highly drafted quarterback covering that. It was 2017 when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky 2nd overall, and Mike Glennon in his OTA opening press conference said, I want to say 13 times. Something along the lines of, this is my team. I'm the starting quarterback. Something along those lines. And it wasn't totally what you wanted to hear, necessarily. This is what you want to hear. You want to hear, hey, if I'm going to play, absolutely. But also, I understand that the best way for Anthony Richardson to get better as a quarterback is for him to play.
And he lived it.
Right, and he lived it, absolutely. And Richardson still has to earn it. This isn't Gardner Minshew just saying, getting out of the way, you go take snaps. Richardson still has to earn it, but when Richardson does earn it, I don't think Gardner's going to have any problem saying, all right, Rook, I'll step aside and I'll support you however I can.
Right.
And go out there and be your best.
Larra, for you, OTAs and our first look at the Colts is this week with 11-on-11 drills, and that's what we've all been waiting for since the end of last season with the Colts in line to draft a rookie quarterback in the top 5. How much of a battle is there between Minshew and Richardson early on for playing time? Everybody wants Anthony Richardson to earn it. Everybody would ideally like to see him out there, but he still has to go out there and do it, and we know Minshew can play. How do you think the Colts are going to handle that in the OTAs?
I think you have to reframe it. This should not be approached or viewed as Gardner versus Anthony in terms of a quarterback battle. This is Gardner proving what Gardner does and Anthony proving what Anthony does. This is not meant to be a head-to-head type of scenario because you can't. You purely cannot compare those two quarterbacks from an experience standpoint, from the physicality standpoint, the skill set. They're just different, and they're not going to be called upon to do the exact same things either. What you're looking for at this period of time is for Gardner to kind of bring everyone else up to speed with where they need to be within this offense. He's coaching them up as much as anything else and making sure that they're all on the same page within this offense. And then what Anthony is trying to do is not just get out there and prove what he's able to do. You don't need Anthony Richardson to be perfect or to dominate at this period of time. What you want Anthony Richardson to do is to be able to bounce back. When a play goes wrong, if he gets picked off, okay, hey,
don't make the same mistake twice.
Exactly. It's quick memory. It's just flush it, move on, and be able to correct the mistakes that he is inevitably going to make. He should make mistakes. He's 21 years old as of this week. He is and that's the only way he's going to learn, but it's how quickly he rebounds and responds from those things and then is able to perform with consistency with the things he's being asked to do. Gardner Minshew is going to be asked to do some different things. With what you're asking Anthony to do, how is he able to show steady improvement and ability to respond within the tasks that he has commanded?
Yeah. When Shane, in the offseason, when Shane Steichen talked about finding a quarterback that is, most obsessed with football and desperate to get better playing the quarterback position, they determined that Anthony Richardson was that guy. And from the sounds of it, that's what we're seeing. That's what's transpiring so far when you, like you said, JJ, when you talk to Cam Turner, when you hear from Richardson himself, or when you hear his teammates talk about him, that's what they're all saying about Anthony Richardson. You want to see the small mental mistakes and those basic reads in practice dwindle and decrease day by day for the next couple of weeks, right? So in June, he should be light years ahead of where he is now because of 11-on-11 reps, throwing to receivers against the defense, knowing where to go with your eyes on routes, how to read defense is a little bit different than he did at Florida. All those things are going to take some time to get used to. Speeding up the footwork, getting used to a 5-step drop instead of a 3-step drop from college. That's going to be, that's going to take some time to get used to. But Larra hit it right on the head, JJ. I thought those mental mistakes, how does he respond to that? What kind of body language does he have? What kind of attitude does he have in his coachability towards learning from mistakes? It sounds like he's the perfect guy to take all of that in and still come in with a good attitude and a level of growth that he kind of thrives from that coaching that he wants, that he needs this time of year.
Yeah, I asked Cam Turner, what have you learned about how Anthony wants to be coached? And his response was just, he wants to be coached. It doesn't really matter how. And I think that's not – don't take that for granted among rookie quarterbacks, that you want these guys want to be coached. They want to be taught. I think Richardson comes across as a guy who understands that he is kind of a blank slate and an incredibly athletic blank slate who wants to just be coached up, knowing that with the right coaching, with his development in terms of the mental side of things, his athletic traits can take over and he can be one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league if he develops the right way. That is a big if. There are a lot of things that can happen between now and then, but I think that's his mentality. And that's really good to have. And again, I don't know if that's the case for every single young quarterback who comes into the NFL, that they have that attitude. Sometimes guys are a little bit stuck in their ways. Sometimes, well, I did it this way in college, so I want to do it this way in the pros, and that's not going to fly. I think some of that stuff is real, and in Richardson having this approach, I think that's a really good starting point for his development.
No, it's all good stuff, really good stuff. And this was, I'm going to play this. This was a great answer we had from Dan Orlovsky a few weeks back. We had him on The Last Word, ESPN NFL insider, of course, former Colts quarterback. He joined The Last Word a couple weeks ago. This was his response on if he thinks Richardson can play, like if he hypothetically can play right away in the NFL.
I would make him prove to me that he's not capable of it. I would make him show me we're going to make a mistake with this young man if we play him.
Mm-hmm.
Like if and everyone always uses this phrase like, is he ready? No, of course not. I mean, it's the freaking NFL. It's hard.
Right.
But I think, does he have a skill set that allows him to go survive a little bit early on? Athleticism automatically becomes a check mark for that. I think the biggest question in all of that is, do you truly believe that he is mentally tough enough to handle the failure? Because it will happen early on. Maybe it only happens for a month or 6 weeks. He will have tough moments. Is he mentally tough enough to just handle that and to know and believe this is all part of the growing process, the growing pains of playing that position in the NFL? If you believe that and you've got the right people around him to support him in those difficult moments, I think he plays. And I think he plays right away. I wouldn't let 6 weeks go by in the season before getting him onto the field. He's got to play. And the only way to get better is getting on the field and going through that. So I would play him. I would know he's going to have tough moments. And I would just encourage him, we are going to go through this together, and we are going to rip this Band-Aid off, and we are trying to go be great. Chris Ballard's quote is exactly everything. I went for the kid that I think I could hit the grand slam on because I don't want to see someone else get that at bat.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
So, like, if you're going to hit the grand slam, man, you can't dip your toe in the water. You jump in, play him right away.
There you go. It's Dan Orlovsky. That was from The Last Word a few weeks back. Can't dip that toe in the water, man. You got to jump right in. Got to get into the deep end.
Was
the pool.
Dan calling from Indianapolis Motor Speedway? I mean,
he was going 220. It sounded like in Connecticut.
I mean,
but
fresh
right
off
there,
a Peloton ride. That guy's a monster on the Peloton, by the way. If you follow him, so
I don't know how he has time in his schedule to do anything.
Oh, I think he's up at like 4:30 in the morning or something.
I mean,
He's
he's
one
on
of those people
TV
who probably
all day.
requires like 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
I am not one of those people.
Yep.
No, sir. So, again, that's Dan Orlovsky. That's a good chatter on the Colts quarterback situation here in the offseason, starting OTAs with Anthony Richardson, of course, Gardner Minshew. Also, let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball. As I said, Dayo Odeyinbgo, he spoke to the media last week. He talked about, he estimates he added 11 pounds of muscle, some jack in the offseason, and is really confident in his ability to play all four defensive line positions. We all know position flexibility along the defensive line. That's something that Chris Ballard really prioritizes as they try to figure out, the best mix and match to this year's group together. They always want to play in waves. They always talk about playing with 8 or 9 different defensive linemen to get guys in fresh. Last year, the Colts had 44 sacks, which was just 2 off the franchise record. 44 sacks from 12 players, but no player reached double figures. And Yannick Ngakoue, who led the team with 9.5 sacks, he is no longer on the team. So, Larra, what do you expect from him next season? What are your expectations for him going into year number 3?
I think you expect him to be a difference maker. Of course, we talked a lot about this. That rookie year was a bit of a redshirt year because he was coming back from the injury and still felt like that he was trying to prove himself and find more consistency last season. Now it's no excuses from this point on. You've got those great anchors in the middle for you that you're able to utilize and play within. And then, you have depth at that position too. They always like to try to rotate guys throughout the defensive line. So you have some people breathing down your neck, so to speak, getting in there, wanting to get in the rotation. And I think that this will be a huge year for him, and he's certainly capable of being that force on the end that he was drafted to be.
Crazy how fast things move in the NFL. Dayo Odeyinbgo, this is a big year for his future. If Dayo comes out and has the kind of season that I think the Colts have expected him to have, he could get a contract extension a year from now, and he could be a long-term piece of this defense. The Colts really liked how he finished the season.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at him from weeks 10 to 18, so the second half of the year, he had 21 pressures, 3.5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Specifically from weeks 11 to 15, he had an 18.1% pass rush win rate. So that just means, did he beat the guy in front of him, essentially, on about 1 on every 5 snaps. That was 17th in the NFL in that stretch. That's pretty good. That's a good, hey, he's got it in him type
foundation
stretch.
thing, yeah.
Right. I think that, but he's going to still have to compete to get the starters reps, because like I mentioned, Kwity Paye is probably entrenched at that spot next to Grover Stewart. Then who's going to be your other starting D end? Is it going to be Samson Ebukam, who you gave a decent contract to in free agency, or is it going to be Dayo Odeyinbgo? And obviously Dayo has the flexibility that he can kick inside, but your base defense is going to be DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart as your inside guys. So where does Dayo fit in that? Is he going to be a heavily used rotational piece, or is he going to be a starter? This is going to be an important couple of months to figure that out.
Yeah, his playing time really rocketed up once Tyquan Lewis went out of the lineup last year. To your point, JJ, like the last 9 games of the season, he was playing about 45 to 50% of the snaps. So he was getting better just by, the byproduct of being out there more and participating more in the defense. Easier for me to say. But, yeah, I could see Dayo getting run on the outside on first and second downs, right, kind of spelling Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam at times. And then on third down, kicking him on the inside if you want to go that route. But I will say it's really hard to take Grover Stewart off the field. He is a deceptively good pass rusher.
He is.
Without a doubt, the Colts are banking on Dayo to be able to provide a bigger season and better things going into year number 3. Maybe that sack total from him goes from 5 to 8 or 9 and get in the face of quarterbacks more often, provide more pressures and disruptions, plays that just don't show up in the box score, kind of across the board for this defensive line. That takes me to the next question. Will the Colts pass rush, is that going to be more impactful last season without Unique Ngakoue? I talked about the sacks, JJ.
Yeah.
44 sacks, really good number for this franchise, but did they come at the most ideal times?
Yeah.
And how does that play out next season?
So, right, 44 sacks is 10th in the NFL, tied for 10th. But the Colts only had 244 total pressures, according to Pro Football Focus. That was 28th. They weren't able to get after the quarterback as much as you might think with that sack total. But you got to really dive into the context of that. The Colts only had 214 pass rushing snaps with a lead. That was 30th in the NFL out of 32 teams.
There's no
obviously.
doubt that plays a part in it.
They only had 70 pass rushing snaps with a 2-score lead.
Yeah.
That was 27th. So usually that's where you're going to make your money. It's all right, it's a 2-score game. The opponent's got to pass the ball to try to come back. Let's get after their quarterback. They only had 70 opportunities of that.
There weren't many Mathis and Freeney moments
right,
with
exactly.
a lead in the fourth quarter.
Let me give you the Mathis and Freeney moments.
Yeah.
In the second half, while leading by 2 scores on third or fourth down. Okay, so stay with me here. Those are the moments that Robert Mathis and Dwight Freeney were like, we're finishing the game.
And they're going after the ball.
Yep. So the Colts only had 10 snaps to rush the passer in the second half while leading by 2 scores on third or fourth down.
Oh, my gosh.
Like the most obvious passing situations. 10 snaps represents 1.6% of the Colts' total pass rushing snaps for the season. They generated
10 snaps for 17 games.
Yep, they generated 5 pressures and 1 sack on those.
Wow.
Let me give you some context here. The Philadelphia Eagles, who led the NFL with 70 sacks, they had 60 of those snaps. They had 50 pressures and 10 sacks in those situations.
Jeez.
I mean, that right there, it's so hard to generate consistent pressure if you just aren't afforded those opportunities. Now, there were opportunities where the Colts did not do that. I think about that Washington game where Taylor Heineke drove the Commanders down to win the game late. The Colts didn't get enough pressure on him in those situations. But for the most part, they just didn't have opportunities.
In second half of the Minnesota game.
Right.
I know the ball's coming out quickly there from
second half of the
Cousins.
Minnesota game, Dayo Odeyinbgo was pretty good, though.
Yeah, he did have
still
2
pretty
sacks
good
that game.
But they just didn't have those opportunities, even if you just double those chances.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you're talking about a couple more sacks here and there, more pressures. You're talking about more impactful pressures and sacks that really help you close out a game in a way that the Colts just didn't have a ton of opportunities for that this year.
That's the thing. I think that's the key word, impactful, right? The two guys up front, and I think you're exactly right, Larra. Those guys are solid as they come with Buckner and Stewart, and the Colts are hoping for more defensive end production or impact because you're still seeing DeForest Buckner be double-teamed at a very high rate the last 2 years. I mean, we thought Unique Ngakoue would take some of that down. I don't know to what extent that happened, but Buckner was still seeing a lot of double teams, according to him, at the end of the season. So the Colts are hoping for more big years from Pay and Ebicom and Odeyinbgo when he's on the outside. I think Ebicom can have more of an overall impact on defense than Ngakoue last season. He had about a 15% pressure rate last season, which was 7th best in the NFL for a player with at least 300 snaps. So he's good. I think he has more impact across the board. Plus, I think he's pretty good against the run on the edge. So I think there's hope that in year 2 under Gus Bradley, everybody healthy, that this pass rush could be even better or, again, at least more impactful. Underline that word. Maybe not as many sacks, but I think they might be more impactful, Larry, generating more turnovers and more takeaways and impacting the game in a positive way for the offense.
Well, it's worth noting and easy to forget how much of last season DeForest Buckner was playing hurt, too, with, a variety of different things that were impacting him. He never complained about it, but there were things that were on the injury report and different things that you would see with, the braces on and different reinforcements and a number of different things. So that is another issue that I think people kind of write off because he was still so productive and so reliable in that role. And I do think that that's something worth noting that was kind of easy to just overlook last season at a lot of points. But yeah, you certainly expect that this is a group that has much higher expectations going into this season with the impact that they are able to have and putting themselves in opportunities to, be more destructive for the opponent.
Yes, sir. All right, that's the pass rush. Dayo Odeyinbgo, and we'll see what happens with Kwity Paye, Samson Ebicom, and the rest of the group. All right, JJ, you ready?
Random thought of the week.
And why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
I don't know, Margot.
You guys going out of town? You know if it's cold there? Do these vans get good gas mileage?
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
We always wrap up with the random thought of the week. JJ, this week the baton's been passed to you. Take it away.
The Indy 500 is one of the best places as an adult to wear a jersey. It is.
What?
It is. You get a cross section of jerseys at the Indy 500 that is. It's like music festivals. You just get there's another guy in a Vancouver Grizzlies Bryant Reeves jersey. Cool. You go to a football game, everyone's wearing a football jersey, right? The Indy 500, you get everything.
A collage of jerseys.
You get soccer jerseys, basketball jerseys, football jerseys. I saw a guy wearing a Mike Trout Team USA baseball jersey at qualifying on Sunday. You get everything. Maybe not hockey jerseys, a little too hot for hockey sweaters. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to wear to the 500 on Sunday.
Yep.
And I have a couple options. I've got a basketball jersey. I've got a University of Missouri Kareem Rush jersey. It's a little bit big.
That's very niche of you.
It is.
Throwback
very,
niche.
Very. I also have a couple of football jerseys. I've got Colts ones. I got an Edgerrin James one. I've got a Chase Daniel University of Missouri jersey. I've got a Jeremy Maclin University of Missouri jersey. These are very old from my time in college.
Did you buy those in college?
Oh yeah, I student charge those. My parents paid for them. Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Larra, put that in your bursar.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bursar bill was filled with parking tickets.
Yeah.
Thanks, IU Bloomington.
I've also
Not surprised.
I've also got a couple soccer jerseys.
That's a flex.
But I've worn my Team USA jerseys to the 500 a bunch. I don't want to wear those again. I've already kind of done that. So
I don't think anybody's keeping score.
I know no one's keeping score, but I am. I'm keeping score. So this just kind of led me to think, all right, if you could wear one jersey without anyone judging you for the rest of your life, you get to pick one jersey that you get to wear.
Oh, man.
What are you picking? What is it? Who's on the back? And
wow.
I'm sorry to one of our senior content producers, Matt Wilkening, for bringing this up on the podcast.
Yeah,
because
he's a staunch no-jersey guy.
Yeah, he's an
right?
anti-jersey guy. But, okay, so what are you picking? You get one jersey for the rest of your life that you get to wear, one name on the back. What is it?
Larra, go first.
Well,
do you have
this
one?
is yeah.
I don't know if I have one.
Yeah, so I own both road and home Matt Overton Colts jerseys for obvious reasons.
Yes, of course.
So it's my own last name, Matt. I like to call my brother from another mother.
Yes.
People like to still ask if we're married, if we're related in some sort. Matt grew up in California. I grew up in Indiana. We have not found any sort of familial relation or genetic connection.
You haven't done Ancestor.com?
We haven't. But even better, we are family by choice. So, Matt and his wife Bree were at my wedding and everything. And so they're incredible friends. So it is, that is what it is for me, is I'm going to rock that forever because it is my name and I can represent that. It also brings me to my husband was at the race in 2009, to JJ's point. And he has on, I think he wore an Antonio Davis Pacers jersey. From what season, I don't exactly know. But he found Damon Bailey and Reggie Miller in the same season jersey. So they have a shot of all of them.
Yeah. With the white drop shadow?
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I'm going to show
the
Mate.
Flojos?
So they just
those are the Flojos. Yeah.
No, these aren't.
Yeah, they are.
Those are?
Yeah.
So they all came across each other randomly. So we took so to your point, this is an opportunity for community to bond with fellow jersey wearers at the greatest spectacle in racing.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the Flojos. No, that's the first jersey I ever owned as a kid.
The Flojos have the yellow. These don't have the yellow down the side.
That's the Flojo right there.
I don't think these have the yellow down the side.
Oh, let me see it again.
Those are just all blue. The Flojos had the yellow and white accent.
Okay, I didn't see that part of it. The Pacer Flojo uniform.
These are just plain.
From early. Okay, yeah. So from the early 90s, that was the first jersey.
The 96. These are the 96 jerseys.
All
yes.
right,
so
good.
my husband possesses an Antonio Davis jersey and proudly wearing it.
That would probably have to be it for me. Like a Flojo Rick Smits jersey or something. I don't have a lot of jerseys. I have a Cincinnati Reds jersey, JJ, but it's nameless on the back on purpose because I don't want to be the jersey guy. I kind of agree with Matt Wilkening.
Yeah, I know, but this is a no judgment zone. So let's say you got that Reds jersey. What's the name you're putting on the back?
Reds jersey? Probably Barry Larkin. He was my favorite player growing up.
You wouldn't go obscure with Pokey Reese?
No, I would probably go Barry Larkin as a Red or David Weathers.
David Weathers.
Throwing
Let's
a
go.
David,
Lefty reliever, right?
No, he was a righty.
He was a righty.
Yeah,
okay.
he was throwing up meatballs there towards the end. Some watermelon batting practice back in the day.
1999 Rookie of the Year, Scott Williamson.
Or Daniel Ray Herrera in his gas can coming in.
Willie Mopena?
Yeah, there you
go.
Let's go. Yeah, early 2000s. Not too many Cincinnati Reds jerseys, but probably if I had to rep one, it would be Barry Larkin.
Okay,
how about you?
So mine would probably be so we were having this discussion at lunch yesterday about baseball jerseys, and I was like, I don't love baseball jerseys, but Chris Albright, our director of graphic design, brought up a good point. He's like, they're just a button up. You can kind of unbutton it, So I was like, okay, fine, I'll take a White Sox Mark Burley jersey. He's my favorite player of all time. That would be an easy one for me, but I don't have one of those for the race this year. So I need to decide. I'm between the Kareem Rush Mizzou basketball jersey, or I have. You guys are going to think this is stupid, but I have a Manchester City jersey from the first year they won the Premier League title with the gold patch for them winning it with Sergio Aguero's name on the back. He scored the game-winning goal in the most dramatic moment ever.
I'm not sure there are two more polar
complete
events.
Opposites.
IndyCar and international soccer.
But there are a bunch of Brits running in the IndyCar. In the Indy 500.
IndyCar is an international sport.
You're not
sport.
with them.
I'm not. True. I'm not. So I should probably do the basketball jersey?
Do you, man?
I know. I just it's
the soccer jersey has sleeves, though, right?
Yeah, it has sleeves.
You're going to get a horrendous tan line.
See,
we're in the shade for the most part.
Matt Wilkening gets legit pissed when
he
sees an adult walking down the street with a jersey on.
He shouldn't go to the 500.
He is triggered, man. I understand what he's
don't
saying.
care.
I get it, but my motto is you do you, I'll do me. Everybody's okay. I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah.
Just have fun. You be you, right? Matt, I'm sorry that we brought this up. Continue to bury your head in the sand on this one. We'll reconvene. We'll table this for another day there. All right, Larra, content-wise, what's going on this week leading up to Memorial Day? Anything video-wise?
Yeah, so last week the Colts rookies headed out to IMS. Juju Brents got to lead them around a bit, and he said it was actually his first time out at the Speedway, despite the fact he's an Indianapolis native.
What?
It was his first visit, but a heck of a way to do it. They got to go around on the pace car.
What are we doing?
And wave the flag to start practice, and view from Pagoda Plaza, and up on the victory podium and all of that. So we'll have a little recap from their experience there that'll be going on.
Fantastic. JJ, what are you typing about this week?
This is going to be fun. I am talking to Benjamin Grinsteiner, who won Jim Irsay's schedule prediction challenge.
Wait, for real?
Yeah. Out of 22,000 schedule challenge entries, he was the only person to get 9 games right. That was the most.
Okay, so he didn't get the million.
So he
didn't get
win.
the million.
Okay.
But he won 4 season tickets for the Colts in 2023.
It's fantastic.
I'm very excited to talk to Benjamin.
Where's he from?
He's from North Dakota.
Oh,
a
wow.
lifelong Colts fan from North Dakota.
No kidding.
I'm excited. I'm talking to him tomorrow. You can read that story on Colts.com on Friday. Very excited to hear how he picked it, how he picked up the Colts, and how excited he is to come to our games this year.
There you go. Congrats, man. Season tickets. Does he get airfare, too, coming in from, what'd you say, North Dakota?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. I think it's
I've got an extra room, Ben.
There you
I've
go.
got an extra room, and I live 15 minutes from the stadium, so we'll make it work, pal.
You can go carpool and,
But you might have to clean up breakfast on game day. That's the trade-off, brother.
That's a breakfast that involves a toddler. So you're going to have bananas on the ground.
Yes.
You're going to have
there's stuff on the wall.
Inevitably, there's some syrup somewhere.
Syrup
and you're
is
like,
somewhere.
We didn't even have.
Yeah,
we didn't even have waffles.
Yeah,
Where did the syrup
what are
come from?
we doing?
Yeah. You're going to get yelled at about what color cup you put the orange juice in.
That's
it. You'll have fun. Yeah.
All right, our Person Behind the Pads podcast, that continues this week. That was awesome. Last week we debuted that with Bernard Ryman. This week, Larry, you went one-on-one with Michael Pittman Jr. regarding his love for hunting and fishing and his dad and his mentorship, playing in the NFL, passing down some wisdom to Michael Pittman Jr. So check that out. That's going to be published a little bit later this week on the podcast network. Also, The Last Word is back this week, and we're going to be talking with Ashton Doolin and talking about the wide receivers, a little preview of the wide receiver position. So check that out. That's coming out on Friday, and we have a good time. It's going to be Carb Day, so you guys have a great weekend. JJ,
Eat your pasta. It's Carb Day.
I know. I know you're going to the race, so enjoy yourself. Make good decisions. Pace yourself. Larra,
good luck with your jersey.
Yeah, and
see you at the airport. Yeah, thank you.
In your jersey. And Larra, you're going to be in the pool, I take it.
I likely will be. So one thing I will say is I really enjoy, don't get me started on the blackout, but, the TV blackout, right?
Not your
the race.
blackout.
Your
No,
personal.
not that. No, that will not be on the weekend agenda. No, but like the TV blackout, that's for a whole nother conversation elsewhere. But what I will say is I think it is because of, Matt, what we do working in live event radio production, there is nothing I admire more than the audio acrobatics that they execute on the radio
a lot
network.
of unspoken language there.
Yes.
And how they just seamlessly navigate from all of the different positions of the different guys and how well they tell the story and describe what is going on. So I kind of prefer to be at the pool and have it on the radio and be able to jump in and listen and pay attention and follow it that way.
Yeah, the excitement of the last 20, 25 laps on radio of the Indianapolis 500. It's pretty unmatched.
The crew is phenomenal.
Yes.
They just are.
Absolutely. All right, JJ, Larra, I'm Matt Taylor. Have a great Memorial Day. It's coming up on Monday. And then, of course, we'll talk to you next Tuesday, talking more Colts football and the OTAs on the official Colts podcast. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon on the Colts Audio Network. So long.